Hello everyone. Happy day after Christmas. Hope you guys are having a great day. You guys are looking at live images right now. Some tragic news. Pop star George Michael dead at the age of 53. This is a live feed outside of his home in London. George Michael died at the age of 53.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hearing you. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great.
How far out are we?
Family. No. After our last highly chatty guest, we thought that was worth doing.
Okay.
Well, the crowds keep rolling outside the London prominent home of George Michael. This is not where he died
Okay, cool, thanks.
Day, but it is certainly with fans from all over the UK and all over the world really that are coming to pay tribute. They are laying flowers, they are lighting candles, they are leaving personal messages and a makeshift memorial that is growing in front of his London home. Here's a listen to a few of them.
Dane Ashley, correct?
Fans are reliving basically George Michael's music.
Control room. You there, control room?
Many fans, of course, reliving memories from their own lives, things that were punctuated by various songs and albums through
Yeah, let's
Michael's
talk.
40-year career. Now, there's not much known about his death officially yet. Thames Valley Police report that they were called to his country near Oxfordshire around 2 p.m. on Christmas Day. That's when they found the body of
And it's safe,
the
right?
pop superstar. His manager is
Yeah, safe, right?
Michael died of heart
Yeah, okay,
failure.
So many members, so much good up.
His death occurred, which would be of some comfort to fans, of course. However, we won't know any of the confirmed
It's an hour of power. It's pretty
Well, so finish the wine.
So I just
You
want
want
to
to
make
call
sure.
CX to make sure they're rolling on the succulent feed. While you do that, I'll go first.
Many fans reliving memories from their own life, things that were punctuated by various songs and albums by George Michael's music. That is the legacy that he leaves. Now, we're not hearing a lot officially about the death of George Michael. Thames Valley Police reporting that they were called to his country home near Oxfordshire around 2 p.m. on Christmas Day. And that's
Well,
when they
Colin, this afternoon we've had a number of people, probably hundreds I would say, over the last few hours, coming to the singer's home here in this wealthy enclave in North London, leaving flowers, cards, notes, candles, and balloons, in fact, paying their respects. I've been speaking to a number of them over the last few hours as well, and they've said that they've come here both as fans of the music, fans of this man. Obviously, George Michael, much more than just a pop superstar. This man made a huge contribution to LGBT rights here in the UK and internationally. He's been heavily involved in HIV charities like the Terence Higgins Trust since he was ousted in the late 1990s. He's also, it turns out, been a very generous philanthropist, contributing a huge amount of charity money to charities like Childline. Dame Esther Ranson saying that to the Press Association earlier today, he secretly gave millions of pounds to Childline without ever wanting that to be publicly known. So a generous man, and that seems to be one of the many reasons that people are coming here today, as I say, to lay flowers, to leave candles and notes, to pay their respects. Behind me now, dozens of people collecting and leaving their flowers here. Many of them from the local community, I should say. This is a man who was known in this part of North London. He was involved in setting up lights for Christmas trees, you know, frequented the local shops and pubs, and was well liked, it seems, based on what some of his neighbours who've been around this area talking this afternoon said. Now, let's see that.
Nice meeting you guys. Call me next time you're in Slave Lake.
Yeah, sure. And you'll say, what the hell are you doing? It's how really bad now.
It's cold in Slave Lake.
Oh,
It is cold in Slave Lake.
how much longer go?
Till the 4th. The 4th, I can't remember what my flight is. Huh? Well, it's working. That's working out. Oh yeah, I know.
I think the message that we're just seeing everywhere, you can see the people still gathering behind this one love for this musician. Someone on their lives, this music that has spanned multiple decades. This is quite prolific, selling well over 100 million albums. And so when you talk to people, they are making specific songs.
We always appreciate them and count on them and pay big money for them like that.
One gentleman brought his two sons because he wanted his sons to be there and to see the place where George Michael was. I asked the two boys what their favorite song was. They said Last Christmas, which, you know, they said they were listening to.
Okay, guys, it looks like we have lost that feed from outside of George Michael's home. We were just sent that feed, courtesy of Reuters. George Michael's home in London. The question is, will they send us more of the feed? Stand by. In the meantime, today, one of the coldest days here in Arizona. As you can see on the screen, it is 9 o'clock, and it is still in the 30s. A very chilly night. Last night, a very chilly Christmas weekend here in Arizona, relatively speaking, of course. We're going to bring you more news coverage here in just a couple minutes. And we are going to continue with George Michael coverage. We don't have that feed from London anymore, but I do want to go ahead and take you guys to TMZ. We are going to take a look at some of the George Michael related headlines. The latest TMZ headline, George Michael, weight struggle before death. George Michael was reclusive and struggling with his weight in the months before his death. These pictures were taken in mid-September right here at a restaurant in England. And it was apparent that the singer had gained a tremendous amount of weight. He was rarely seen out in the months before his death. As TMZ reported, Michael died in his sleep on Christmas Day from heart failure. He had a tradition of attending midnight mass at a church near his home, but he was a no-show on Sunday. George Michael was working on a Showtime movie about his life, which was due out this March. You can see a large memorial gathered outside of George Michael's home. This one reads, "Will always be our idol." Let's see, what other George Michael related news and headlines we have here. So the TMZ first reported this yesterday, 3:17 Pacific time, so about 4:17 here in Arizona. George Michael passing away at his home in England at the age of 53. A rep for the pop star says it's with great sadness that we can confirm our beloved son, brother, and friend George passed away peacefully at home over the Christmas period. Details surrounding Michael's death have not been released. Police say the death is unexplained but doesn't appear to be suspicious, according to the BBC. George was a music legend and sold more than 100 million albums during his career. George Michael launched his career with Wham in the 80s, turning out hits like Wake Me Up Before You Go Go and Careless Whisper. He went on to have a monster solo career with hits like I Want Your Sex and Faith. Michael struggled with drugs during his life and was arrested several times, including an incident where he was busted at a public toilet in London in 2008. The last time TMZ caught up with George Michael was in 2008, July 2008 specifically. Let's go ahead and watch this clip.
George, is it true you and the Wham are going to come back together?
The Wham?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No touring or anything?
No, that's not happening.
Okay. What do you think of Richard Simmons running for Congress? He came to D.C. Yeah, he came to D.C. and he's talking about some political things.
You mean the bloke who did the... we've got to go, actually, guys.
My battery's
Did you say Richard Simmons? You mean the bloke who does the little thing in the shorts?
Yeah. He said he's a good speaker. He's going to help Congress with the fitness. They do a lot for...
As long as he's not going to be working for gay people. It's...
Yeah. He's going to help the youth. He's
There you go, sorry. Sure, yeah. Thank you very much.
You're real cool, George, man. Have a great show. Yeah. You got it. Okay. Have a great show, George. Don't take so long off next time, George, man. We miss you. All right.
So TMZ last encountering George Michael in 2008. Michael again dead at the age of 53. Again, one of Michael's principal reps told TMZ the singer had not been ill and had been working on that Showtime movie that was set to air in England next March. Sources directly connected with George and in a position to tell us the singer died from heart failure. We're told he was sleeping throughout the episode and suffered no pain. Here are some images outside of George Michael's home as many mourners gather and pay their respects. Dearest George, you have been loved, you are loved, you will be loved. We grew up with you and you spoke for us. Heartbroken. Dear George, one of this world's sensitive soul, the world has to embrace those who feel and hold on to the flame of love for all. We are all one, of one family. Rest in peace. You are a beautiful soul who's shown a bright You can see that note there, a bit hard to read. See people leaving flowers, notes, gathering outside of George Michael's home in London. To a wonderful human being and artist forever in our hearts. Rest in peace, George. Flowers left outside George Michael's home. R.I.P. George. We think you're amazing. Alright guys, we're going to continue with George Michael related coverage in a few minutes, but first, I want to go ahead and give you guys a quick look at our 10-day forecast there. Rather chilly temperatures in store for Arizonans today. Lots of snow fell over the weekend in Flagstaff and Prescott. We'll definitely show you some of those pictures of all that snowfall in a bit. Here is a quick look at the White House. And speaking of the White House, we will be showing you the Obama's weekly address, a special weekly address in honor of Christmas.
One of the best parts of the holiday season is spending time with the special people in your life. And for me, that means getting some help from my best friend for our annual Christmas weekly address.
Now, given how our first Christmas weekly address went, I realized that Barack needed all the help he could get. This is our first Christmas in the White House, and what? Stop! What? You know what? You've got to stop it. All right, you got to get it together. You're gonna have to pull it together, POTUS. Celebrating the holidays in the White House over these past 8 years has been a true privilege. We've been able to welcome over 500,000 guests. Our outstanding pastry chefs have baked 200,000 holiday cookies.
That's a lot of cookies.
And Barack has treated the American people to countless dad jokes.
They're great jokes.
Not so funny.
Although a few got a frosty reception.
Oh, the last one. This year's White House holiday theme is the gift of the holidays. And our decorations reflect some of our greatest gifts as a nation, from our incredible military families to the life-changing impact of a great education.
And the greatest gift that Michelle and I have received over the last 8 years has been the honor of serving as your president and first lady. Together we fought our way back from the worst recession in 80 years and got unemployment to a 9-year low. We secured health insurance for another 20 million Americans and new protections for folks who already had insurance. We made America more respected around the world, took on the mantle of leadership in the fight to protect this planet for our kids, and much, much more. By so many measures, our country is stronger and more prosperous than it was when we first got here. And I'm hopeful we'll build on the progress we've made together in the years to come. Tomorrow, for the final time as the first family, we will join our fellow Christians around the world to rejoice in the birth of our Savior. And as we retell his story from that holy night, we'll also remember his eternal message, one of boundless love, compassion, and hope.
The idea that we are our brother's keeper and our sister's keeper, that we should treat others as we would want to be treated, that we care for the sick, feed the hungry, welcome the stranger, no matter where they come from or how they practice their faith.
Those are values that help guide not just my family's Christian faith, but that of Jewish Americans and Muslim Americans, non-believers, and Americans of all backgrounds. And no one better embodies that spirit of service than the men and women who wear our country's uniform and their families.
As always, many of our troops are far from home this time of the year, and their families are serving and sacrificing right along with them. Their courage and dedication allow the rest of us to enjoy this season. That's why we tried to serve them as well as they've served this country. Go to joiningforces.gov to see how you can honor and support the service members, veterans, and military families in your community, not just during the holidays, but all year round.
So as we look forward to the new year, let's resolve to recommit ourselves to the values we share. And on behalf of all the Obamas, Michelle, Malia, Sasha, Bo, and that troublemaker Sonny, Merry Christmas, everybody.
And we wish you and your family a happy and healthy 2017. Thanks, and God bless.
The Obamas are staying in D.C. for 2 years after the president leaves office.
He's about to go.
And we're going to cut out of this because that is not our video. It's another video on the White House page. It's a pretty funny video, though. The Couch Commander video.
Are these? Or these?
Joe, they're the same.
They capture different moods.
Joe, I need some focus here.
Comes in there during aviator time, thinks everything.
Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you can't deny that the relationship between President Obama and Joe Biden is unique and entertaining. A bromance, if you will. Here is another look at the White House. And in honor of the holidays, we just showed you the White House Christmas address. We're going to go ahead and show you guys the evening Hanukkah reception as well. Hanukkah at the White House.
It so happens we're a little early this year, but Michelle and I are going to be in Hawaii when Hanukkah begins, and we agreed that it's never too soon to enjoy some latkes and jelly donuts. This is our second Hanukkah party today, but in the spirit of the holiday, the White House kitchen has not run out of oil. Dad jokes for every occasion. I want to recognize some special guests that are with us today. There are a number of members of Congress here who obviously are so supportive of the values that are represented by this holiday, and extraordinarily strong friends of Israel. We've got Justice Breyer and Justice Ginsburg in the House. We've got one of the country's finest jurists who I happen to have nominated to the Supreme Court and who's going to continue to serve our country with distinction as the Chief Judge on the D.C. Circuit. Merrick Garland is here. Thank you, Merrick. Our wonderful and outstanding and tireless Secretary of the Treasury, Jack Lew, is here. As is our U.S. Trade Representative and former BBYO President, Mike Froman. And I want to give it up for our outstanding musical guest, 613, who just did an amazing performance for Michelle and I of a Hamilton remix talking about the Maccabees and the president and menorahs, and if you ever have a chance to get the mixtape, you should buy it. Now, this is the 8th year that Michelle and I have hosted this little gathering, and over the years we've welcomed Jewish Supreme Court justices, cabinet secretaries, members of Congress. We celebrated Alan Gross's return from captivity in Cuba. We got to celebrate a once-in-70,000-year event, Thanksgiving, where we lit the menorah. That was a turkey-shaped menorah, in case you forgot. We got it. So, this is a White House tradition that we are proud to carry on. It gives us a lot of nakas. If I pronounced that right, then that was a Hanukkah miracle. Tonight we come together for the final time to tell a familiar story. So familiar that even we Gentiles know it. But as many times as we tell it, this 2,000-year-old tale never gets old. In every generation, we take heart from the Maccabees' struggle against tyranny, their fight to live in peace and practice their religion in peace. We teach our children that even in our darkest moments, a stubborn flame of hope flickers and miracles are possible. And that spirit, 2 millennia ago, inspired America's founders. 2 centuries ago, they proclaimed a new nation where citizens could speak and assemble and worship as they wished. George Washington himself was said to have been stirred by the lights of Hanukkah after seeing a soldier seek the warmth of a menorah in the snows of Valley Forge. And years later, Washington wrote that timeless letter we have on display today in the White House. I hope you saw it when you walked in. Washington assured the Jews of Newport, Rhode Island, that the United States gives to bigotry no sanction, to persecution no assistance. He went on to write that all that is required of those who live under the nation's protection is that they be good citizens. It's easy sometimes to take these fundamental freedoms for granted, but they too are miraculous. They too have to be nurtured and safeguarded. And it's in defense of these ideals, precisely because the Jewish people have known oppression, that throughout our history this community has been at the forefront of every fight for freedom. It's why Jews marched in Selma, why they mobilized after Stonewall, why synagogues have opened their doors to refugees, why Jewish leaders have spoken out against all forms of hatred. And in my last months in office, I want to thank you for all your courage and your conviction and your outspokenness. The story of this community and the work you continue to do to repair the world forever reminds us to have faith that there are brighter days ahead. The menorah No, they're not scared. The menorah we light today is a testament to such resilient optimism. It belonged to Rena and Joseph Walden, a young Polish couple who acquired it in the early 1900s. When the Second World War came, the Waldens fled to France and took shelter on a farm. And they hid their Jewishness, including their magnificent menorah, entrusting it to a courageous neighbor. But one Hanukkah, they retrieved their menorah and lit it behind locked doors and covered windows. That same week, the Nazis raided their neighbor's house and burned it to the ground. Of all the Walden's family treasures, only this menorah survived. A few years later, the Waldens moved to Israel, where their son, Raphael, met a young woman named Ziva Perez, the only daughter of one of Israel's founding fathers and greatest statesmen. And I had the honor to go to Jerusalem earlier this year to bid farewell to my dear friend Shimon Peres and reaffirm the commitment of the United States to the state of Israel. We could not be more honored to have Shimon's son, Chemi, his grandson Guy, and his granddaughter Mika here with us tonight. The Walden-Perez family lit these lights when the state of Israel was new. They blazed it in the months after the Yom Kippur War and the Camp David Accords. And tonight, Kemi and Mika will light this amazing heirloom in the White House. And as they do, we hope all of you draw strength from the divine spark in Shimon Peres, whose miraculous life taught us that faith and moral vision can triumph over all adversity. I hope it inspires us to rededicate ourselves to upholding the freedoms we hold dear at home and around the world, that we are able to see those who are not like us and recognize their dignity, not just those who are similar to us. I hope it inspires us to continue to work for peace, even when it is hard, perhaps especially when it is hard. And as Washington wrote to the Jews of Newport more than 200 years ago, may the Father of all mercies scatter light and not darkness in our paths. I'd now like to invite Rabbi Rachel Isaacs from Colby College and Temple Beth Israel in Waterville, Maine, which I said sounds cold, to say a few words and lead us in blessings. But first I have to get a box because she's a little shorter than I.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now everyone can see me. Thank you, Mrs. Obama. It is such an honor to be here today to teach, to bless, and to represent Waterville, Maine in the White House. Yeah. You should come.
There's one
you
guy
should come.
from Waterville.
Yes.
There he is.
Do you recognize him?
No. A blessing. Adam Harishon, the first human, stood shivering in the dark, frigid expanse. The days were becoming shorter, dimmer, colder, in a way he had never experienced before. And he wondered, is this what the world will always be like? Our rabbis teach that Adam prayed for 8 days, and when the winter solstice came, the days became longer, lighter, and warmer once again. Hanukkah is a festival that teaches us it is always darkest before the dawn, and that it is not foolish or naive to hold on to hope. Of course, because Hanukkah is a Jewish holiday, we don't all agree on a singular reason why we celebrate. Hanukkah also teaches us about the necessity of rebellion, the Maccabees refused to accept tyranny and were willing to sacrifice everything in order to retain their integrity as faithful Jews. They knew the injustice of dictatorship and the danger of one human sovereign undermining the primacy of our laws. As Jews, our faith is rooted in a legal system based on the foundational belief that all human beings are created equal and created equally in the divine image. We know the values and example we inherited from the Maccabees are not so different from the legacy we inherited from the mothers and the fathers of the American Revolution, who fought for religious freedom and to achieve the promise of a democratic republic free from tyranny. So in their honor at this moment, let us engage in the work of Chanukhat HaMedina and Chanukhat HaEzrachut, rededicating ourselves to our nation and to the privileges and challenges of citizenship. The battle for the of our Jewish homes in all parts of our great nation, yes, even Maine, sharing the sparks of Torah with all of our fellow Americans. Chag Urim Sameach, Happy Hanukkah. And now for the candle lighting. Since we are celebrating Hanukkah before Hanukkah actually begins, please join me in the candle blessing using the terms Hashem and Elokeinu in the place of the traditional utterances of God's names. We're going to recite the first blessing. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanukah ma'otzor Yeshuati lechana el shabeach tikon beit tefilati v'sham todan ezabeach letachim matbeach min saham nabeach az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah hamizbeach az egmor b'shir mizmor Chanukah hamizbeach.
Well, we hope that you enjoy this celebration here at the White House. On behalf of Michelle and myself, we could not be more grateful for your friendship and your prayers. And we want to emphasize that although we will be leaving here on January 20th, we will meet you on the other side. And we've still got a lot of work to do. We look forward to doing that work with you because it's not something that we can do alone, and you've always been such an extraordinary group of friends that strengthen us in so many different ways. I should also note that your singing was outstanding. think this was an exceptional group of voices here tonight. Thank you very much, everybody. God bless.
And that was the White House Hanukkah celebration this year. Hanukkah and Christmas occurring at the same time, the Christian and Jewish holidays being celebrated across the world. Here is a quick look at our 10-day forecast once again. As you can see, our temperatures have risen in the last few minutes. When I checked the weather about a half hour ago, we were 6 degrees cooler, showing 39 degrees. We're now about 45 degrees. Today, the high is relatively low for Arizona Decembers. A high of only 60 degrees here in Arizona. Next week, even colder with highs in the 50s. Alright guys, we're going to take you back now to London. Many people gathered outside of George Michael's home, paying respect to the late singer.
I see. Mike, I got you loud and clear. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and Mike, are we possible to donate this hour? Okay, donate, and then also I'll be mentioning Elton John Donna's correct? Hello? I'm not talking. Anything else in particular you guys have?
Okay, guys, you are looking at a live image. You're looking at George Michael's home in London. The pop star, dead at the age of 53 due to heart failure, dying in his sleep. Some of you wondering, were there drugs involved? Police say no foul play is expected in Michael's death. I'll be joining you with more news now in just a couple minutes. But first, a quick look at our 10-day forecast. Ron Hoon joining me as well in just a couple minutes for a Christmas edition of News Now. Stay tuned for that right here on Fox 10 News Now. All right, everyone, we're going to take you back to London. Another look outside of George Michael's home. The pop star dead at the age of 53. Ron Hoon joining me. We're going to discuss this and more here on News Now in just a few minutes.
That's right. A lot of people here behind people coming in busy are that George Michael died at 53 today from what we're hearing partially. But when you capture the people here, this is someone who had a big impact on people's lives. They talked about his great music, but also his message of inclusiveness. One thing that really stood out to me, though, was talking to a father and son and how they're sharing their love of George Michael to younger generations. But this is a man who had over 100 million albums sold. He also was a strong advocate for the LGBT as well as AIDS awareness. So this is someone who is leaving a big hole in society, but also, of course, remembered for his music.
Try that again for IFB, please. Yes, I can. Can you hear me? Hello.
Suzanne, he truly was.
That means you'll get a bit more of my chatting, I'm afraid.
1965 was the first pop group with plans to play in China after the Cultural Revolution. Cool. A lot of fans were jealous that he was the first. A lot of tributes, though, today coming in. We have from Elton John saying that I'm in deep shock. I've lost a beloved friend, the kindest, most generous soul, and a brilliant artist. My heart goes out to his family and all his friends. And then you also have Madonna saying, farewell, my friend, another great artist leaves us. And Suzanne, when I think for me, what I will remember when it comes to his music.
Some of you tuning in may not be familiar with pop music icon George Michael. George Michael rose to fame in the 80s as a member of the music duo Wham. He died at a relatively young age, only 53 years old, born in London, died in London, specifically Oxfordshire, England. George Michael, an English singer, songwriter, and record producer. Some of his hits include Wake Me Up Before You Go Go and Faith. George Michael was a gay rights activist. Some people asking if drugs had anything to do with his death. Police do not suspect foul play. It is believed that Michael passed away due to heart failure.
Not right now, no.
He died in his sleep on Christmas Day.
Colin, I mean, obviously you can hear from Tom's piece there just a huge amount about the music. A lot of people saying that he meant a huge amount to them as they were growing up in the 80s in particular, in terms of defining their own sort of identity, very much a part of their life.
Joining me now is the one and only Ron Hoon. Happy day after Christmas.
I know, that's sort of what I've been saying to people today. Because it is an official holiday.
Right, technically it is a holiday.
The banks are closed, government offices are closed, I'm sure every store
There's no traffic on the freeways.
Yeah.
It was great this morning.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like our unofficial workday celebration of Christmas today. I was going to wear festive Christmas attire, but then I found out it was 37 degrees, and I was like, no, let me just wear the warmest clothes I have.
Ooh.
Because it's cold.
Yeah, I suppose that most of our regular viewers already saw the picture that I put on of you from going into the weekend with your, as I called it, your perfect little blue elf cap.
That was a cute photo.
That wasn't really a nice
I just posted this photo this morning with a very long caption that's considered inspirational. It's a picture of me and a Grinch on top of Camelback. Now let me tell you this story. So everyone here...
But I think we should change the...
lower third, you're right.
Yeah.
Let's go back to this one. There we go.
There you go. Okay.
So, as many viewers here know, I had talked about it last week. I was going to hike Camelback Mountain to go find Santa. That was my goal.
On Christmas Day.
Yes, because you guys may remember that we had live streamed Camelback Santa and the Camelback Christmas tree. Do you remember this?
Yeah, like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
When it
and
became
so
a big deal
when
and
I
it
first
reappeared, yes.
found out about it, I was like, I have to go. Camelback Santa's only up there on weekends.
Right.
And I was like, well, if I don't go Christmas, when am I going to go?
Right.
And I was like, maybe Santa's relaxing up there after delivering all of his gifts.
Okay.
It was pretty exciting, right? Here's the video from earlier this month. Camelback Santa. No, there he is.
It was cool. Yeah.
When they went to the top. And it's not easy to get to the top of Camelback Mountain.
Just
up there.
by yourself, let alone anybody trying to haul up a tree.
Right.
Or in a Santa gear.
Right.
I mean, you got to put a pillow underneath, do you not? To get that big belly going?
So, long story short,
Uh-huh.
I hiked up Camelback. All in a quest to see Santa. And I documented it all on Snapchat and Instagram in stories.
Nice. Okay.
And I'm going to play the video for everyone with the audio so they can see the quest. And hopefully they will be able to hear what happened. I'm going to just...
Oh, this will be
I'm
good.
going to point the microphone towards the phone so they can catch it. But it's a story of my journey. I'm going to have to start it over.
Okay.
I realized something. Santa has a sled and reindeer. He probably flew to the top and didn't even have to do the hike.
So I've taken a rest break. There's no Santa inside. I keep going. Then I have my hiking buddy take a video of me hiking up the mountain.
Wow, this is good.
You keep going, and I'm finally near the top, and I see the tree, but where is Santa?
Guys, I have terrible news. I made it to the Christmas tree, but it's 2:30 and Santa left at 2. What a waste of a hike.
No.
Yes, I knew that Santa was going to leave at 2, but I figured he took the same trail I did and that we would cross paths along the trail. But alas, it was not meant to be.
So then I put my Bitmoji with Santa. I'm like, maybe this will do.
Oh my God, guys. There's a twist in the story. We know what happened to Santa. Dun, dun. The Grinch stole Santa.
That's fantastic.
So basically what happens, I go on this whole quest to find Santa.
Yeah.
Don't find him. I'm disappointed. I'm sad. I'm
Right.
devastated.
I can see that.
I start thinking this is a metaphor for life and all my failed goals and lack of accomplishments.
How can you
And
have
I
failed
sit-
goals? You're not even 30. How can you have failed
I
goals?
sit on that mountain and I look out and I'm pondering and I'm sad. I'm like, you know what? I made it to the top of the mountain at least. At least let me get a
Yes, that's
photo
something.
with this Christmas tree, right?
Yes. And then the Grinch shows up.
And then I go walk to the tree and the Grinch is there. And I detailed this in an Instagram post.
I think that's like the best use of Instagram stories, which, by the way, is Instagram stories going to eventually just take over Snapchat?
Well, here's what I learned. So I used to always snap because that was my default, but I have more
Right.
followers on Instagram.
Exactly.
So what I do is I download my Instagram stories and then upload them onto, I download my Snap stories and upload it onto Instagram stories.
Yeah.
So
Snap has never figured out a very good way to get a bunch of people to follow you.
yeah.
The way Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram have.
Well, and that's half of its appeal though with Snapchat is that you're just doing it for the story and not really worried as much about the numbers.
Yeah.
But that was my Christmas afternoon.
Right, yeah.
So I'm very sore. I'm like,
I bet.
and then I went to the Fairmont Princess for their little winter.
Oh, I heard it
holiday
was
thing
really fantastic.
last night. Yeah, it was kind of disappointing only because it was so cold that I couldn't enjoy it all. So I had wanted to go on like the train ride to go through all the lights and do the Ferris wheel, but it was just so cold that we got there and we were just like, oh my gosh, let's just go to dinner and yeah. How was your Christmas?
It was great. On Christmas Eve, we went to, there's a neighborhood that I had never even heard of in Gilbert. It's called Comstock. That has a entire neighborhood, like this one long street where everybody's Christmas lights are amazing. It's voted as like one of the best in the U.S.
Wow.
With coordinated music.
Oh, cool.
And I bet you the backup to get into the neighborhood was about a half a mile.
Oh, wow, especially on Christmas Eve.
Correct.
Like of all the days to go
Correct.
experience it, it's Christmas Eve, I assume.
Yeah. So I don't know. I took a video. Can I show it to you?
Yeah, I just showed the viewers all my videos.
Okay. But there's MUSIC playing in the background. Is that okay?
Oh, it
'Cause I
should be
took it.
fine.
Okay, good. Good. Here we go. This is only 30 seconds. It's just a little glimpse, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're still going to have them for just a little while longer.
Yeah,
Videos.
now I kind of want to go.
To this?
Well, I want to go and experience all the Christmas things here this final week of Christmas
Sure,
time
yeah.
because I feel like we spent a lot of money to go to the Fairmont Princess.
Oh.
It's not cheap.
Oh, it's a paying deal.
Well, you kind of have to pay like per car parking situation.
Oh,
So-
parking. Okay.
But it's like really, they charge you a lot.
Like $20 to park or something?
35 per car.
Just to park.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man. I would park all the way down at Frank Lloyd Wright and just hoof it.
Yeah. I mean, it was.
You
there
thought
was-
about that, didn't you?
But then, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, here, I'll show this to you, and then you can decide. Oh, hold on.
Wow. That's cool.
Now, hold on. Here it comes.
Ha 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 ha.
So then they did the, whatever that big dance tune is. So anyway, it was hilarious and amazingly coordinated and just great.
That's so fun.
Yeah. So anyway, we did that on Christmas Eve, and then you know what we actually did? We went out to a really good Indian restaurant
On Christmas Day?
on Christmas Eve,
Eve.
because most restaurants were closed.
Oh.
And we had been driving around, and we waited in
Is it
line
the
a
one
long
in
time.
Mesa?
It is the one in Mesa. Are you familiar with it?
With India's Oven?
It's India Oven.
Yeah, I've been there.
Have you? Have
Is that
you?
just me just knowing every Indian restaurant in the Valley?
Maybe.
Yeah,
I'm
I have
s-
been there.
I'm sort of
well,
hoping-
what I like about them is they do dinner buffet. Did they have dinner buffet that
They
night?
did the dinner buffet,
Yeah.
although most of us were ordered off the menu.
Oh, see, the fact that there's dinner buffet is so novel that makes it a
Okay.
gimmick. Because then you can just try a little bit of everything
Yeah.
and then you're good.
Yeah, but most restaurants were closed and they were open, so we're like, let's go give them a shot. I loved it.
Yeah, it's good. I've
It-
only been out there once.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, that was kind of fun. And then Christmas Day was just hanging out with the fam and, you know, having a great time. Went to church in the morning and then sang all the Christmas carols and came home and opened presents.
Is that a Christmas tie? No, it's just Christmas colored tie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is a Christmas colored tie. It's more like a duck tie. I don't wear it very often, but it's got the greens and the reds, so I thought, okay. I wore my Santa tie on Friday, as you well remember. So,
I do
anyway,
remember.
yeah, so now the deal is, apparently this was one of the best Christmas shopping. In fact, it was the second best on record. Did you know this? For Christmas shopping, they've already added it all up.
Wow.
And I want to say that it was $655 billion when you add up brick and mortar and online.
That's good for the economy, right?
Really good for the economy. Up 3.6% from the year before, which was decent. But that's a pretty good size increase. Most years it feels like it's up 0.7 or up 1.1%. So to be up close to 4% from last
Wow.
year is actually a really good sign.
That is good.
And then the other thing I heard, I don't know because I didn't go to any of these sites, but that most of the big retailers have really upgraded their mobile sites to make it way easier to A, order, and B, get it shipped to you. And so they've decided they're going to try to beat Amazon at their own game.
Interesting.
I think that sort of has to happen because I think in some instances you want to go or you have to go, get in your car and go to the store. But I'm telling you, on Friday I had one last thing I had to get. And so I knew the store I wanted was at Tempe Marketplace. Oh, gosh. Don't tell me about how
Why deal with
slow things
traffic?
are in the brick and mortar business. I mean, the parking lot was
Crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that seems a little.
I almost hit a
chaotic.
guy in front of me because he had his truck and he decided at the last second to get over into the left-hand turn lane, but the back end of his truck was still sticking into my lane. I like slammed on my brakes. I thought, oh yeah. And then you get in the parking lot, and it was ridiculous. So I'm glad that it's as good a retail season as it was.
Indeed. Indeed.
Indeed.
My body still hurts, Ron.
I know.
That's not...
I can imagine.
When's
When's the last time you hiked Camelback?
That was my first time.
Oh gosh, ever.
That was my first
Wow.
time. And the thing is, I don't think I would have ever hiked Camelback unless I had the incentive of Santa being at the top, which
Yeah.
is what makes my whole journey to find Santa and the ending so sad.
Yeah.
In the sense that
Yeah, but it was saved.
it was saved by the Grinch.
How about that?
The Grinch who saved Christmas.
Yeah. It could be like a whole new show.
The Grinch who-
Saved by the Grinch instead of Saved by the Bell
Is
and
that-
Saved by
Let me
the...
make sure that I captioned that. Yeah, the Grinch who saved Christmas.
That was like
I
one
highly
of 20
encourage
hashtags.
all of you to go to my Instagram and read my story at SamiaKhan. I'd appreciate it.
Well, or just watch the video. Oh,
and
wait.
the video.
Yeah, no,
the
that's
video
good.
is posted.
So
on.
here's my question: why will people keep going to Snapchat if Instagram has now co-opted what Snapchat does? And who wants to go? It's
well,
you're-
Snapchat still has like a lot of those fun like filters and things.
Yes, and
So that's the
Instagram
appeal.
doesn't yet.
Instagram doesn't have it yet. Yet is the key word.
Yeah.
I think they're obviously working to incorporate some of the gimmicks that Snapchat has.
Yeah.
Like the filters, the face
Right.
filters.
Yeah.
There's Bitmoji in Snapchat, so you can do fun things with the stickers. I think there are a lot of people that are gravitating towards Instagram stories, but I think it's mostly older people. I think the kids still prefer Snapchat. That's what they're used to. That's what they've used. Why switch? But I think people who never really found Snapchat's appeal, but were already Instagram users, are now using the Instagram Stories feature. I noticed that more and more people are making stories on Instagram.
Yeah. Well, oh, look at that guy out doing. Oh no, we're on camera. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, we can look at this.
The guy doing push-ups.
Right here.
Nice.
Yep.
I just made it to the top. It's already enough of a physical strain, but I'm going to start doing push-ups.
I had never done Camelback before.
I can't believe that.
Well, I had
It
been
is a
avoiding
great
it.
view, is it not?
It's a great view. I had been avoiding it because everyone said it was hard.
Right.
And I didn't think I was physically fit enough to do it. And honestly, the only motivation I had the entire hike, every time I took rest breaks, every time I looked up at the top, the only thing motivating me was the fact that there was Santa at the top. I swear to you.
How about the view? It's an amazing
No, you know
view.
what? There was a good view halfway up too, though.
True, but
It
it's
was
better.
solely to get to my destination, to see this Christmas tree and Santa.
Yeah.
And I just thought maybe Santa would be there a little later.
Uh-huh.
And instead, he had left, and it was tragic. But in the end, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
But I'm
Well.
glad that there was a Santa
Okay.
that I knew about
Yes.
to motivate me to get there.
I think your story actually is better because it was unpredictable. And the fact that Santa wasn't there, A, and B, that the Grinch was hanging out.
No, the Grinch showed up after I had already been up there sulking in a corner for a bit.
Steve.
So
Okay.
it was like
So
the Grinch came and saved the day.
separate the fact that it was happening with no Santa or with Grinch Plus, and just tell me this. Was actually hiking the mountain pretty much exactly the way you thought it was going to be?
No, I didn't realize that I was, because a lot of the hikes you do here, they're like paved trails, and you kind of get up to the top of the mountain.
okay.
This is straight up like climbing on rocks.
You're climbing over rocks.
This was intense. It was crazy,
yeah.
but I highly recommend it. I noticed one of our viewers, St. Neil, asking how high Camelback Mountain is. 2,700 feet.
And so apparently its prominence, meaning that how much it rises above the actual floor of
Ground,
the elevation,
yeah.
is 1,300. So it's the equivalent of a 130-story building.
Yeah, no, it was high.
Mhm.
It's definitely high.
And
Here's
because
a
it's-
picture of Camelback.
Because it's right at 56th Street, the peak of it, I tell people it's kind of cool because you're looking down on the planes.
There it is.
You're looking down on the planes that are taking off and landing.
So
from
this is
Sky
where I
Harbor.
ended up, right here. Is that where I
That
was?
is it. That is that.
Wow, guys.
And the one really cool thing about hiking Camelback, like I always tell people who do, now for the rest of your life, when you're driving around on the 202, you're on Camelback Road. You look at it and it's way up there, and you say, "I can't believe I was all the way up there."
Yeah, I feel like it's special.
It's
now.
a little badge of honor.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was cool though. It was really exciting. I'm never gonna forget Christmas 2016
Uh-huh.
in Arizona, hiking Camelback.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. So, did you find that the stores and the malls and everything were as crazy?
I tried to avoid
Did you?
shopping as
Okay.
much as possible. I mean, I did. I had to go to make a return at TJ Maxx down the street.
On like Christmas Eve or something?
No, it was not even Christmas Eve yet. It was it was last weekend,
Oh,
like the weekend of
gosh.
the 18th.
Wow.
The week before Christmas, but the final weekend before Christmas.
Right.
And just the line for the registers was so long. I was like, I'm good. I can do this any other time. But I feel like all this week it's just going to be even more chaotic. And there are things I do need to purchase. I need to go to Sephora. I have to buy some makeup. And part of me feels like I should just do the whole Sephora.com thing instead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, here's the funny thing. In our business, in the pre-internet, when it was just radio and TV, one of the things I discovered early on in my broadcasting career was once Christmas comes and goes, at least in the vast majority of the country, things really quiet down. Whether you're in Fresno or Wenatchee or probably Philadelphia, Detroit, you name a northern city, most places in the country, after all the hubbub and hullabaloo and anticipation of Christmas and Christmas shopping and everything else, the advertising seems to kind of die down.
Right.
I remember thinking, wow, we don't have near as many radio commercials, because I did radio before I ever got into TV. So this is different in Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Because this is now suddenly the time when tens of thousands of people throng to our area.
That's so true.
And so, the advertising continues, but the stores stay busy because over the course of the next week or two, we're probably going to have another 100 to 200,000 people here.
That's true.
that
There
weren't here
are a
before.
lot of people that are here for Christmas. I met a woman on the hiking trail from Montreal
Okay.
who was just here. They have a condo over here. She's actually pretty interesting.
Oh, really?
She was once a refugee.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so she doesn't live here. She's Canadian.
Uh-huh.
But she was a refugee. She originally was from Iran. She got smuggled into Pakistan.
Wow.
And from there, she ended up coming to Canada. And she was telling me her point of view, like all by herself, no family, just grateful to have a place to call home.
Jeez.
And she wrote a book.
What a great story.
And she told me to check out the website of her book. I haven't checked it out yet, but it's called fleeingthehijab.com.
Huh.
Yeah, I was like, that's an interesting story.
Yeah, no kidding.
Interesting title. And she's like, yeah, check out my website.
Huh.
Interesting.
Wow.
So this is just
Well,
the random woman whose story I encountered on Camelback.
yeah.
Wow.
Um,
She fled Ayatollah Khomeini.
all
And
the
it-
way back in those days.
Yeah, no, this is like
Yeah.
way back. No, she's a professor. She was very
Oh, a
interesting.
professor in Montreal.
I believe so. Her name is Seema, Dr. Seema Goel,
I'm
and
sort
she's
of
here.
I'm sort of surprised you didn't invite her to come in and be a guest.
Oh well, she definitely.
That would be an interesting story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking the morning show might even be interested in talking to her.
Yeah, maybe so.
She's here for another week and a half.
Well, you know the way it works for
This
us.
is my first time looking at her website
Yeah.
though, with all of you guys, because I was just busy.
The thing that's cool about News Now and about what you do up here is that it can literally be a springboard from a cool 5 or 10 minute story to, and here she is.
Right.
You know, And so you have that sort of free-form nature. What we would do on the TV side is we would wait until there was some angle,
Right, I know.
you know, so that
But refugees
there were
is pretty current.
You know, if somebody was killed trying to flee Iran, or if there was a plane load of refugees that got hijacked or, you know, left the country unaware, or who knows what. By the way, speaking of that hijacking story out of Malta, did you and I talk about this? I think we did mention it briefly on the air on Friday.
Right.
That my supposition was that it was all a fake deal. I mean, the hijacking was real, but the hand grenades and the guns and everything, turns out they were all fake. There's no way you can get that kind of stuff on an airplane. It was all fake.
Wow.
So, I sort of wish the pilots had just said, you know what, go sit down. Go get back in the back of the plane and please keep your seatbelt fastened.
Ridiculous.
You know?
Ridiculous.
Because it should have been so obvious that the whole thing was with a bunch of fake stuff. So, anyway. Well, so, do you talk to your mom over the holidays?
Text messages.
Oh, texting. Okay. Things are good with the fam in Fresno?
Yeah, I'm going home this week.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. My mom's birthday is later this week, so I'll be home for the weekend to celebrate.
Cool. All right, gonna fly into the FAT.
Yeah, that's the Fresno Air Terminal. Fresno
F-A-T.
Yep, guys.
All right, well, so I can't believe that was a half hour. How was that a half hour of
Time flies when you're having
Pooner
fun.
and SK time?
I also have a pounding headache, so some viewers at home might think I'm very low energy.
Oh, is that right?
Very Jeb Bush, as they may call me. But I just have this pounding headache, and I think it's a combination of just all the walking and then the freezing cold temperatures outside at the resort.
Nah.
I'm really disappointed that I went to the resort and it was so cold I couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
If anyone knows anyone at that resort, you can let them know that I'd like to be welcome back. I want a redo because I didn't get to go on the train.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do anything because it was just so cold.
Well, plus you were already exhausted and your muscles were starting to get a little achy from
it was
your hike
the
up the mountain.
cold, though. The cold is what kept me from everything. It was
You
so
had plenty
cold.
of cold weather in Fresno days. It's not that
Last
horrible.
night was freezing.
I
Were you
know,
outside
I know,
yesterday
I know.
night?
And even this morning when I
10
got
o'clock?
up, I thought, yeah, it's chilly.
You
But,
were asleep by 10 o'clock.
Oh, of course, 10
Yeah.
o'clock. But like
9
by
o'clock.
7, I already
Oh, no,
knew
no,
it was
7 was
freezing.
fine, but like 9, 10
That's
was
when
like...
the big chill came? Was
it
it
was
10 after 9?
so, oh my gosh.
Oh.
Barely moving. So all that money spent to go to this winter
I
wonderland,
know, I would be frustrated.
wasted.
Don't you have a little inner calculator in your head where at certain moments you say, you know what, this is outrageous, I'm not going to do it?
You mean the cost?
Well, I'm not saying that's
Or the
outrageous because
freezing
if you
temperatures.
well, let's say you get 6 people in a car, and if you're paying $35 for 6 people, then you're at like
It's worth it.
$5.50.
But when it's
worth it.
2 people,
or if it's one person, then $35 to park.
oh yeah, no, that's not worth it. So
No.
what we did, one of the loopholes
Yes.
was if you had dinner at one of the restaurants
Oh.
and spent $75
Okay.
or more, then your entrance to everything was covered.
This is really funny because
So
I actually.
2 people having dinner
Yeah.
at a high-end restaurant
Uh huh.
and ordering dessert also will
Right.
hit that 75.
Okay. The weird thing is that you're bringing this up because I got a text from my niece who was in town the last few days, and she said, "Look, here's a picture of us at the Princess. It's so fantastic."
Yeah, I wish I had. I wish I had one.
A picture?
It was
A
so
text?
cold.
Oh.
A picture.
Okay.
So I feel bad because it's like I made it such a big deal to go to this thing, and it wasn't truly experienced because it was so cold.
Yeah, I know. I feel
So
bad
cold.
for you. But usually when the pressure is on, when you've spent $35, most people I know would be like, I don't care if I'm cold or have a headache, I'm getting out of this car and I'm going to darn well
So we tried that, and then we had to go to dinner because you had to go to dinner, but then the stuff was still open after dinner, so the plan was to go do everything after we ate.
Okay.
But after we ate, that's when we walked outside, and we were like, oh my God.
Right.
At 9:45, it was just
Really? It was a zoo?
unbearably cold.
Oh. And it was very crowded too?
No, it was
No.
just so cold that you couldn't. It was so cold.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Almost Arctic-like conditions?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Granted, I was wearing a skirt, but I was wearing. I I was
that part finally comes out at the end.
I was wearing tights also, and tights are very insulating.
Oh, they're very insulating. They're very comfortable, from what I've heard.
I was like, Ron, what are you?
Although I bought a pair of jeans when I was over in the UK, because you know the airline lost my luggage. You know that stuff.
Yeah.
I bought it, and these were the closest things to leggings
You've ever worn?
Yeah. This must be the trend in tight jeans now. Is they're practically like leggings for guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get the overall drift of it.
Yeah.
So now that we have discussed all of this, I got to go to my meeting.
All right. Well, I'm going to continue giving our viewers
more live coverage.
More live coverage.
Times
here
Square.
on this now.
Early look ahead to
New Year's.
New Year's.
Look
Seems
at
like there's
that.
a lot of people in Times Square already this morning.
Yeah, New York is definitely one of those great Christmas cities.
Yeah.
Holiday cities.
Yeah. Right from Christmas right through New Year's.
That's so true. Ronald, thanks for hanging.
Sure.
Guys, thanks for watching. We're going to have more news coverage ahead. And in case you guys missed it, George Michael, pop star, dead at the age of 53. We're going to take you guys to video from outside of his home earlier. Many people gathered to pay their respects to the late pop star. A memorial growing outside of George Michael's home.
more pictures I like. Yeah. I had like 2. Yeah, I know. He's had like the wheel just like a wheel blocked.
really my laptop. Can you go away? Okay, thank you.
tu reviens vers moi, moi je me pose un peu sur le côté. Ok. Ok. Je te fais la totalité, ok. Oui. aussi, nous avons vu de nombreuses personnes venir se recueillir ici, devant la maison de George Michael. C'est dans cette maison de campagne qui s'est éteinte hier soir à l'âge de 53 ans. Les familles dévastées donc, qui viennent déposer des fleurs, des mots comme des bougies, nous avons voilà. Tac, je reste quoi, prends ton temps et tu reviens vers moi quand tu le sens. Oui, c'est Guillaume. Tu nous prends à quelle heure? Ouais. Ok, ça marche. Très bien. Oui, il y a bien une relance, on est d'accord. Oui, tout à fait. Ouais, tout à fait. Pas de souci. Merci, ça. Je sors très bien. 16h et ça c'est ton problème.
George Michael, again, dead at the age of 53, dying at his home in Britain. The British singer, songwriter, and music producer was a household name in the 80s. A megastar, one of the world's biggest selling artists. This obituary coming from BBC. His talents as a singer, songwriter, and music producer made George Michael one of the world's biggest selling artists. Blessed with good looks and a fine singing voice, his stage presence made him a favorite on the live concert circuit as he matured from teen idol to long-term stardom. After early success in the duo Wham, he went on to build a solo career that brought him a string of awards and made him a multimillionaire. But there were times when his battle with drugs and encounters with the police made lurid headlines that threatened to eclipse his musical talents. George Michael was born Georgios Kyriakos Panagiotou in North London on June 25th, 1963. His father was a Greek Cypriot restaurateur who had come to the UK in the 50s, his mother an English dancer. It was not altogether a happy childhood. Michael later recalled that his parents worked constantly to improve their financial status, leaving little room for affectionate moments. I was never praised, never held, so it wasn't exactly the little house on the prairie, George Michael described it. He moved with his family to Hertfordshire when he was a teenager and met Andrew Ridgeley, a fellow student at a local school. The two discovered they had a shared interest in music and, together with a group of friends, formed a ska band which had a short-lived existence. In 1981, Michael and Ridgeley formed Wham. Their first released, Wham Rap, failed to trouble the charts, but the follow-up, Young Guns, established the group after they were asked at the last minute to perform it on Top of the Pops, complete with dancers. The record quickly rose to number 3 in the UK. The duo initially adopted a leather-clad, rebellious image with songs such as Bad Boys, but moved to a more pop-oriented approach with the worldwide hit Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, while the band members swapped their leathers for more fashionable attire. With Michael very much the frontman, it was almost inevitable that he would eventually strike out on his own. The 1984 single Careless Whisper, while co-written by Ridgely, was to all intents and purposes a George Michael solo effort. Indeed, it was credited to Wham featuring George Michael in the U.S. Wham finally split up in 1986, and in the spring of the following year, Michael released I Knew You Were Waiting for Me, a duet with one of his musical icons, Aretha Franklin. He was also beginning to experience doubts about his sexuality. In an interview with The Independent, he blamed his depression after the Wham breakup on the dawning realization that he was not bisexual, but gay. George Michael spent most of 1987 writing and recording his first solo album, Faith, which was released in autumn of that year. It went to the top of both the UK and US charts, going on to sell more than 25 million copies and winning a Grammy in 1989. The first single from the album, I Want Your Sex, caused some controversy, particularly on US radio stations. Many refused to play it at all, while others played a version substituting the word love for sex. In any event, the single reached the top of the charts on both sides of the Atlantic. A 1988 world tour cemented Michael's status as a pop superstar, although the constant touring and the adulation of thousands of screaming teenage girls left him feeling exhausted and only exacerbated the periods of depression that he was now beginning to experience on a regular basis. Indeed, he refused to promote his second album, a much more introspective work than Faith. The album was aimed at a much more adult audience. It failed to achieve the success of his previous work in the US, although there were contrasting fortunes in the UK, where it actually outsold Faith. While playing a concert in Rio on his cover-to-cover tour in 1991, he met Anselmo Filippa, the man who would become his partner, although Michael still did not publicly state that he was gay. Their relationship was to be short-lived, as Filippa died of a brain hemorrhage in 1993. In November '94, Michael released the single Jesus to a Child, a tribute to his dead lover, Filippa. It went straight to number 1 in the UK. The single featured on the older album, which had been 3 years in the making when it was released in '96. Now that album, a dark and sometimes melancholy work, contained a number of references to George Michael's sexuality, and his change of image saw the long hair and beard replaced by a cropped haircut and leather clothes. The album was a big success in the UK and Europe, but achieved disappointing sales in the United States, where audience seemed to hanker after Michael the pop superstar rather than the more serious artist that he had aspired to become. He was voted Best British Male at the Brit Awards and won the title Songwriter of the Year for the third time at the Ivor Novello Awards. Now, the death of his mom from cancer saw him spiral into another round of depression. He told GQ magazine that he had contemplated suicide and had only been dissuaded by the support of his new partner, Kenny Goss. Now, in April of 1998, George Michael was arrested in a Beverly Hills public bathroom by an undercover police officer and charged with engaging in a lewd act. He was fined and sentenced to 80 hours of community service. This incident finally convinced him to go public about his sexuality and his relationship with Kenny Goss, who was a Dallas-based businessman. George Michael continued to record, releasing an album of cover tracks in 1999 titled Songs from the Last Century, before spending 2 years writing and recording the album Patience, which was released in 2004. Patience was seen as something of a comeback, achieving instant success in the UK and even reaching number 12 in the US, a market that had seemed to have rejected him in recent years. Now, following the release of that album, he told the BBC he would no longer be making albums for sale to the public, preferring to produce free downloads of his music and ask fans to contribute money to charity. In 2006, George Michael set off on his first live tour, the first time in 15 years, and became the first artist to perform at the newly reopened Wembley Stadium. However, his private life continued to dominate the headlines. In February 2006. He was arrested and charged with possession of Class C drugs. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties with our live feed. Stand by. In the meantime, here's a quick look at New York City preparing for New Year's Eve. And we will continue with our George Michael coverage. Here is some file video of George Michael as I continue to read this obituary courtesy of the BBC. Now, as I was saying, George Michael's private life continued to dominate the headlines. In February 2006, he was arrested and charged with possession of Class C drugs. And in July of that year, the News of the World printed allegations that he had been engaging in sexual activity on London's Hampstead Heath. Now, George Michael threatened to sue photographers for harassment, but admitted that he often went out at night seeking what he called anonymous and no-strings sex. In August 2010, he was sentenced to 8 weeks imprisonment after pleading guilty to driving while under the influence of drugs. He was released after serving half his sentence. Now, just before the start of a concert in Prague in 2011, he announced that he had split from his partner, Kenny Goss, 2 years previously, blaming Goss's addiction to alcohol and his own battles with drugs. George Michael was a man whose talents made him a global superstar, but he was never comfortable in that role. He once admitted that in his younger days, the figure adored by thousands of screaming fans was just a kind of alter ego he sent out on stage to do a job. He fought hard to be accepted as a serious singer-songwriter and record producer, and successfully adapted his style to suit a more mature audience, all while struggling with depressions and doubts over his sexuality. He will be remembered as one of the more enduring musicians of the 80s generation. Now, again, that obituary coming from the BBC. Meanwhile, Fox News Channel also has their own obituary published at foxnews.com. I'll go ahead and read this to you now. Singer George Michael, who sold more than 100 million albums over a pop music career spanning almost 4 decades, has died at the age of 53. Michael died at his home in Goring, England. His publicist, Cindy Berger, said he had not been ill. Michael's manager, Michael Lipman, says the cause of death was heart failure. His family issued a statement through Thames Valley Police saying that he had passed away peacefully at home over the Christmas period. The family would ask that their privacy be respected at this difficult and emotional time. There will be no further comment at this stage, read the statement. Now, before his manager's announcement, police issued a statement calling the death unexplained but not suspicious, and that a post-mortem will be undertaken in due course. The loss of Michael continues a year of grief in the music industry, with David Bowie, Prince, and Glenn Frey among those dying before the age of 70. One of the giants of 80s and 90s music and an early idol for the MTV generation, Michael enjoyed immense popularity early in his career as a teeny bopper idol, delivering a series of hits such as Wake Me Up Before You Go Go, Young Guns, and Freedom. As a solo artist, he developed into a more serious singer and songwriter, lauded by critics for his tremendous vocal range. He earned a number of Grammy and American Music Awards and recorded duets with legends like Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, Luciano Pavarotti, and Elton John. Now, throughout George Michael's career, his drug use and taste for risky sex brought him into frequent brushes with the law, most famously in 1998 when he was arrested for public lewdness in Los Angeles. But he managed to turn the incident into fodder for a popular song that poked fun at his behavior, and his acknowledgement of his homosexuality at the time made him even more popular with his fans. Michael, with startling good looks and an easy stage manner, formed the boy band Wham with his school friend Andrew Ridgeley in the early 80s. Helped by MTV, which was an emerging music industry force at the time, the cheerful duo easily crossed the Atlantic to become popular in the United States, with Michael as lead singer usually the focal point. Now, he started his solo career shortly before Wham split with the release of the mega hit single Careless Whisper, making a seamless transition. Critics generally viewed his Wham songs as catchy but disposable pop and gave his solo efforts far higher marks. His first solo album, 1987's Faith, sold more than 20 million copies, and he enjoyed several hit singles, including the raunchy I Want Your Sex, which was helped immeasurably by a provocative video that received wide airplay on MTV. Now, the song was controversial not only because of its explicit nature, but also because it was seen as encouraging casual sex and promiscuity at a time when the AIDS epidemic was deepening. Michael and his management tried to tamp down this point of view by having the singer write, "Explore monogamy" on the leg and back of a model in the video. Now, at the time, Michael had not disclosed his homosexuality, and most of his chart success was based on his sex appeal to young women. His look was raw and provocative, with tight jeans, tight t-shirts, black leather jackets, and designer stubble, and his video pushed the accepted limits, with many lingerie-clad models vying for Michael's attention on screen. But Michael's situation changed abruptly in '98 when he was arrested for lewd conduct in a public toilet in LA after being spotted by a male undercover officer. The arrest received international media attention and seemed for a brief time to jeopardize Michael's stature as a top recording artist. But instead of making excuses for his behavior, he went on to release a single and video, Outside, that made light of the charges against him and mocked the Los Angeles police who arrested him. Like all of his efforts at the time, it sold in prodigious numbers, helping him put that incident behind him. The arrest also prompted him to speak openly about his sexual orientation. These years represented the height of Michael's commercial success, which at times were marred by a protracted legal dispute with his record company, Sony. He remained a strong musical force throughout his career, releasing dozens of records and touring to adoring crowds despite a growing number of run-ins with police, many of them stemming from a series of driving under the influence of drug incidents, including several crashes. Now, Michael was an admitted user of marijuana and prescription sedatives, and several times was found slumped over his car's steering wheel after using both at the same time. His driver's license was finally revoked for 5 years in 2010 after Michael drove his Land Rover into the side of a Snappy Snap photo shop with so much force that his vehicle dented the wall. A passerby remembering Michael's early career wrote the word wham on the spot his SUV had hit. He was also arrested a second time in public toilets, this time in North London in 2008 for drug use, an incident that prompted him to apologize to his fans and promised to get his life in order. He also offered an apology to everybody else just for boring them. A year earlier, he had told a TV interviewer that his problem stemmed from a self-destructive streak and his attention-seeking nature. He said at a press conference in 2011 that he felt he had led young people down with his misbehavior and had made it easier for others to denigrate homosexuals. Despite these personal setbacks, Michael's musical performances remained strong even as his material moved farther from the teen tunes that first brought him his stardom. The Telegraph newspaper in 2011 described a London concert appearance as an impressive event, calling his voice a rich, soulful instrument. It's capable of serious emotional heft expertly matching the confessional tone of his own material. Michael, with strong Greek Cypriot roots, was born Georgios Panayatou in England. He and his schoolmates Ridgely formed a ska band called The Executive when they were just 16 before moving on to form Wham. "I wanted to be loved," said Michael of his start in the music field. "It was an ego satisfaction thing." Michael was active in a number of charities and helped raise money to combat AIDS, help needy children, and support gay rights. He had a long-term relationship with Kenny Goss, but announced on stage in 2011 that the two had broken up. Now I'm going to show you guys more video outside of George Michael's home in London.
Tu peux voir le cadre? Ok. Si tu veux me montrer les choses. Ok, puis tu reviens vers moi. Moi, je me pousse un peu plus sur le côté. Ok. Ok. Je te fais la totalité. Oui, il y a beaucoup d'émotions ici. Nous avons vu de nombreuses personnes venir se recueillir ici, devant la maison de George Michael. C'est dans cette maison de campagne qui s'est éteinte hier soir à l'âge de 53 ans. Des fans dévastés donc, qui viennent déposer des fleurs, des mots, des bougies. Nous avons voilà. Tac, je reste quoi, toi, et puis prends ton temps et tu reviens vers moi quand tu le sens. C'est assez clair. Oui, c'est Guillaume. Tu nous prends à quelle heure? Ouais. Ok, ça marche. Très bien. Oui, il y a bien une relance, on est d'accord. Oui, tout à fait. Ouais, tout à fait. Pas de souci. Merci, ça. C'est ça, très bien. 16h. 16h et ça, 16h. You're lucky. Ouais, tout à fait. Non, c'est normal, elle n'est pas joignable sur son téléphone, donc elle n'aura pas de réponse. Tout à fait. Ok, ça marche. Ok.
Alright. Awesome. Thanks very much. No problem. Thank you. Bye, Lexi. Cheers. Enjoy the pub.
Camera. You go to the car and warm up. Now. In 20 minutes we do a Facebook Live. Awesome, thank you. Even the phone. Yes, you must have put it. Yeah, over the stuff for 5 minutes. Yeah, thank you very much.
Wait 1 second to make it retrieve the key. Yeah,
no, I mean, I think unfortunately that's what it is.
le cadre. Ok. Si tu veux montrer les fleurs. Ok, puis tu reviens vers moi. Moi, je me pousse un peu de ton côté. Ok. Ok. Je te fais la totalité. Oui, il y a beaucoup d'émotions ici. Nous avons vu de nombreuses personnes venir se recueillir ici, devant la maison de George Michael. C'est dans cette maison de campagne qui s'est éteinte hier soir à l'âge de 53 ans. Des fans dévastés donc, qui viennent déposer des fleurs, des mots, des bougies. Nous avons, voilà. Tac, je reste quoi, toi, et puis prends ton temps et tu reviens vers moi quand tu le sens. Ça passe exprès. Oui, c'est Guillaume. Tu nous prends à quelle heure? Ouais. Ok, ça marche. Très bien. Oui, il y a une relance, on est d'accord. Oui, tout à fait. Ouais, tout à fait. Pas de souci. Merci, ça. C'est ça, très bien. 16h. Il est 16h et on va faire ça à 16h. You're lucky. Ouais, tout à fait. Non, c'est normal, il n'est pas joignable sur son téléphone, donc elle n'aura pas de réponse. Tout à fait. Ok, ça marche. Ok.
Thanks very much.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye, Lexi.
Cheers.
Enjoy the pub.
Camera. You go to the car to warm up. Now.
Thank you, Matt.
In
Appreciate it.
20 minutes we do a Facebook Live.
Awesome. Thank you. Even the final.
Yes, you must have put it.
Yeah.
Live over the stuff for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I've done it.
Thank you very much.
Whatever.
So what, hers is running on a little thing. That's more than 4 years.
You wait 1 second to make it retrieve the key.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I thought it was funny.
All right, everyone, we're going to cut out of the George Michael Memorial coverage and take you to another memorial. Lots of memorial footage being sent to us this morning. Memorial growing for the Russian plane crash. This is a memorial for the Russian plane crash. That plane was carrying members of the Army's official choir. That choir, scheduled to perform in Syria, was on the Russian military plane that crashed in the Black Sea near Sochi. There are apparently no survivors, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. The ensemble was flying to congratulate Russian Air Force pilots in Syria with the new year. Now, this plane was carrying 92 people, including 84 passengers and 8 crew members. It disappeared from radar Sunday morning local time after taking off from the Adler airport. The plane took off from Moscow and was headed to the Russian Himim Air Base in Latakia, Syria, where Russia has a large military presence, for a concert ahead of New Year's Eve. 10 bodies have been brought on board a rescue vessel, according to the search and rescue team working the area of the crash. One body, believed to be among the victims, was found more than 3 miles off the Sochi shore. One of the people on that flight was Liza Glinka, a famous Russian human rights activist. She was bringing medicine and other supplies to a local hospital in Syria. Her friend and colleague spoke with a Russian media outlet and said, "We are shocked. I've talked to her on the phone just recently, just before it happened. She was a saint. She helped everybody. She was kind. She was fair. It was such a huge loss for me. She talked to us. She argued with us. She was my teacher. She was like a family for me." The first bodies of victims from the crash flight are expected to arrive in Moscow today. The Russian plane could have crashed because of a technical malfunction or pilot error, but not because of terrorism, according to a Russian official. This Russian official said, "I rule out version of the terror attack completely. It is the aircraft of the Ministry of Defense, the airspace of the Russian Federation. There cannot be such a version." The plane had to make a U-turn after takeoff over the sea and may have taken the wrong direction. Now, on its way to its destination in Syria, the plane had landed in Sochi to refuel. It then crashed into the Black Sea. More than 100 divers with special equipment have been deployed, and a group of medical and psychological professionals will be on hand to help relatives. Now, there were no clear major weather patterns present at the time of the plane's disappearance. On Sunday, the temperature of the Black Sea itself was about 10 degrees or about 50 degrees Celsius. 10 degrees Celsius or about 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, this plane that crashed was manufactured in 1983 and had 6,689 hours of flight. Its last repair took place about 2 years ago, December 29th, 2014, and in September of this year, 2016, it underwent a scheduled maintenance. The ministry identified the pilot as Roman Volkov, a Class 1 pilot with more than 3,000 flying hours. You're now looking at video of that growing memorial. All right, guys, we are going to wrap up the morning edition of News Now here. Mike Pace will be joining you guys at 1 o'clock for the afternoon edition of News Now. We're on a special holiday schedule, so there will be no News Now between 12 and 1, as well as between 5 and 6. So we'll have a morning, afternoon, and evening edition of News Now. Here's a quick look at the 10-day forecast. If you guys want more news, you can tune in to the Fox 10 News at noon, which is just about to start. You can watch it on fox10phoenix.com. In the meantime, once again, here is a look at our 10-day forecast and a quick look at our tower cam. Clear skies, no rain, but it is a bit chilly, at least for Phoenix. I'm Samia. I'll be joining you guys again later this afternoon on the afternoon edition of News Now. Thanks for tuning in.